the doctrine of enumerated powers. This doctrine states that, in order for the federal government to have a power, it must be given that power by the Constitution. In other words, all powers must be enumerated. This was confirmed by the Supreme Court in McCulloch v. Maryland. The government is acknowledged by all to be one of enumerated powers. That principle is now universally admitted. There just wasn't any doubt about that when the Constitution was ratified or for decades after. In case you're wondering if anything has changed, in 1995 in U.S. v. Lopez, the Supreme Court ruled, "We start with first principles. The Constitution creates a federal government of enumerated powers. If a power is not granted to the federal government, they do not have the power, both then and now." The enumerated powers of Congress are listed in Article 1, Section 8. This is a list of 18 powers granted to the federal government. So Article 1, Section 8 defines all of the things the federal government has the power to do. These powers are restricted by Article 1, Section 9. This prevents the government from doing things such as restricting habeas corpus or making an ex post facto law. These powers are further restricted by the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights grants no powers to the government, but it does place further restrictions on its powers. Now, it cannot restrict freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, engage in warrantless searches, and so forth, even if it is doing so in pursuance of one of its enumerated powers. Now, what does all of this mean? The language of the 10th Amendment makes it plain. The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. In other words, if it isn't in the Constitution, it falls to the states, unless the states are restricted from doing it, in which case it falls to the people. So what is the significance of this lecture? What is the point to take from all of this? If nothing else, it should help you realize one obvious, undeniable, and awful truth. Most of what the federal government does is unconstitutional. In any given week, perhaps dozens of bills are passed in Congress that don't have anything to do with any power in Article 1, Section 8. This includes everything from the Social Security system to federal funding and regulation of public education. These things are every bit as unconstitutional as the denial of free speech. Now, perhaps you like these things and think they should be part of what the federal government does. But then, the proper course of action should be to first amend the Constitution. For if you can violate the Constitution to do what you want, others can violate the Constitution to do what you don't want, such as restricting free speech or conducting warrantless searches.